Just a few moments ago, I hosted a very special call with two friends, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed of the United Arab Emirates, where they agreed to finalize a historical peace agreement. Everybody said this would be impossible. And as you know, Mohammed is one of the great leaders of the Middle East. After 49 years, Israel and the United Arab Emirates will fully normalize their diplomatic relations. They will exchange embassies and ambassadors and begin cooperation across the board and on a broad range of areas, including tourism, education, healthcare, trade, and security. This is a truly historic moment. Not since the Israel-Jordan peace treaty was signed more than 25 years ago has so much progress been made towards peace in the Middle East. By uniting two of America's closest and most capable partners in the region, something which said could not be done, this deal is a significant step towards building a more peaceful, secure, and prosperous Middle East. Now that the ice has been broken, I expect more Arab and Muslim countries will follow the United Arab Emirates lead, and I want to just thank them for being. It's not surprising, knowing Mohammed so well, it's not surprising they are in that lead position, and normalize relations with Israel. We are already discussing this with other nations, very powerful, very good nations, and people that want to see peace in the Middle East. So you will probably see others of these, but this is the first one in more than 25 years. This deal will allow much greater access to Muslims from throughout the world to visit the many historic sites in Israel, which the Muslims want to see very badly and have wanted to see for many, many decades, and to peacefully pray at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is a very special place for them. My first trip as president was to Saudi Arabia in May of 2017, and my speech to the assembled leaders of 54 Muslim countries. Every single one was by their leader, their number one leader. It was an amazing, really an incredible event, very important event. I made clear that the problems of the Middle East can only be solved when people of all faiths come together to fight Islamic extremism and pursue economic opportunity for people of all faiths. And when you look at what's happening, you're seeing a lot of progress is being made that nobody thought could possibly be made. And things are happening that I can't talk about, but they're extremely positive. I want to thank the leaders of Israel and the UAE for their courage and for their leadership to forge this tremendous agreement. It will be known as the Abraham Accord, and I'd like to ask our ambassador, David Friedman, to please explain why we're doing and calling it the Abraham Accord. David?
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and congratulations to you on brokering this historic peace agreement. Abraham, as many of you know, was the father of all three great faiths. He's referred to as Abraham in the Christian faith, Ibrahim in the Muslim faith, and Avraham in the Jewish faith. And no person better symbolizes the potential for unity among all these three great faiths than Abraham, and that's why this accord has been given that name.
It's a great thing. I wanted it to be called the Donald J. Trump Accord, but I didn't think the press would understand that, so I didn't do that.
A Black Lives Matter group has tweeted in support of Palestine, actually, but they sparked outrage as their message was accompanied by an online graphic of a paratrooper. The image was posted just days after Hamas carried out its horrific attacks on Israel. So Black Lives Matter is a decentralised political organisation, but the Chicago offshoot have been widely criticised for this post. I can speak now to political commentator Suzanne Evans. Suzanne, thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. This is, I think, describing or depicting something that maybe quite a few people always worried about Black Lives Matter, really, which is that they tend to be a hard left potentially relatively militant organisation now actually openly supporting people. And this is after, I believe, there were initial reports came about babies being decapitated in Israel, for goodness sake.
Well, I suppose what I'm surprised by is that anyone's actually surprised, to be honest, because I think it's always been fairly obvious to me, and I think many other people, that Black Lives Matter is not about equal rights for black people, that it's always been a violent, Marxist, anarchist organisation. It pushes, for instance, divisive critical race theory, the idea that legal discrimination against white people should be allowed. Several of their organisers have been prosecuted for fraud. They've abused donations that have been made to the group. And, given that this organisation in its heyday reaped at least £60 million for people who saw them as the big thing, the big cause to get behind, including, let's not forget, many corporates, I'm really not surprised about this. I mean, as I say, as far as I'm concerned, the writing was always on the wall about them.
Yeah, I mean, we take the knee before football matches, don't we? We've had, it kind of indoctrinated into kids, and we've had politicians taking the knee left, right and centre. We have police officers taking the knee outside Downing Street. And some people bothered to have a little look at what the Black Lives Matter organisation actually stood for. And I am always at pains to stress the difference between the words Black Lives Matter, which are valid, obviously, and the Black Lives Matter organisation, which is its own entity and is a political force. It published a manifesto. That manifesto had some incredibly Marxist things in there, like the radical redistribution of wealth and the disintegration of the nuclear family. Those were things that they stood for, right? And yet we just gobbled it all up, didn't we? We gobbled it all up, and now there they are with a Palestinian paratrooper.
Yeah, and of course, defunding the police as well. I mean, perhaps I could just remind the viewers about some of the people who actually fell for their rhetoric. The BBC, who, when the BLM organised what turned into riots in London, called them largely peaceful. So keen were they to ensure that Black Lives Matter got their message across. You've already mentioned the Premier League, who allowed players to have their names replaced by Black Lives Matter on their back of their shirts and to take the knee before football matches. We had the Royal Mail, who painted some of their postboxes black. Yorkshire Tea, which told critics of Black Lives Matter, the people who had looked into their Marxist manifesto, Yorkshire Tea said, don't buy our tea if you don't like Black Lives Matter. They were promoted by Vogue magazine in special editions. I think Guinness-owned Diageo said they were going to donate $1 million to them. And they were praised by Unilever for what they said was shining a spotlight on divisions and injustices in our world, in our society. I mean, they took in so many people, and yet a fundamental tiny bit of research could have revealed the real agenda behind, as you say, this Marxist organisation. We all know that Black Lives Matter, the organisation, I'm afraid, is riddled with horrific problems.
And the ADL doesn't want to denounce Black Lives Matter groups, numerous chapters of which across the country on their social media accounts are endorsing and celebrating the Hamas terrorists, because Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization themselves. The ADL tweeted, "White supremacist leaders are openly celebrating Hamas's attack on Israel, cheering explicit depictions of violence against Israelis, promoting brutality against Jews worldwide." But there's no mention of this horrendous meme posted by Black Lives Matter or other statements supporting Hamas by the radical leftists. The Southern Poverty Law Center actually removed black supremacist groups from their list of extremist groups a few years ago to support Black Lives Matter. The Biden administration also retracted a report that the FBI had posted about the dangers of black identity extremists. Imagine being a liberal Jew. Those are the non-religious ones, as opposed to the Orthodox Jews who believe in God and are conservative. The secular Jews, the non-religious ones, the ginos, the Jews in name only like George Soros. Imagine how they feel seeing the groups that they supported all these years that we've been warning about, praising Hamas for what they did to Jews in Israel. But perhaps the dumbest take of all comes from Mike Pence, who is so delusional that he thinks he might actually win the 2024 election and become president. He's blaming, you guessed it, Donald Trump.
I also believe this is what happens when we have leading voices like Donald Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Ron DeSantis signaling retreat from America's role as leader of the free world. Look.
The Hamas terrorist invasion of Israeli territory, and the murder of Israeli soldiers today, and the brutal murder of citizens is an act of savagery that must and will be crushed. It has to be dealt with very powerfully. This is a time where the United States needs leadership. We don't have leadership.
Donald Trump is getting some support from a really unlikely source. Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan praised the billionaire for refusing donations from Jews. In a sermon this week, Farrakhan said Trump is the only one who stands up to Jewish groups and says that he won't take their money. The religious leader, however, fell short of fully endorsing Trump. Farrakhan has been known to call Jews the synagogue of Satan. According to the Anti-Defamation League, Trump throughout his campaign has maintained that he is pro-Israel.
I am the least anti-Semitic person that you've ever seen in your entire life. I have so many Jewish friends that are supporting Obama, and I'm saying, are you crazy? There's never been anybody worse to Israel than Obama. You're not going to support me because I don't want your money. Isn't it crazy? No, it's true. Maybe you could explain that to some of your people that say, oh, we don't like tariffs. And I think any Jewish people that vote for a Democrat, I think it shows either a total lack of knowledge or great disloyalty. In my opinion, you vote for a Democrat, you're being very disloyal to Jewish people, and you're being very disloyal to Israel. Yeah.
Isn't that anti-Semitic?
No. It's only in your head. It's only anti-Semitic in your head.
I can't believe, because I could always spot a yid.
Right.
I'm going, this guy's in country clubs. He's fooling everybody.
Well,
He just slipped right under the radar.
And then we did some research. We found out you're about the furthest thing from a Jew.
well, I'm actually, I'm in a very Jewish business, okay?
Right.
I like to have fun on the course, and that means sort of razzing the partner a little bit. Enjoy it. You got someplace here, I'll tell you. Even these spoiled, rich Jewish guys, they can't believe how good this is, No, I don't think so. That's good. You don't miss those little 3.5 footers.
I just want to say this to our Christian friends, just to call it as it is and say it straight out, you guys are worshiping one Jew. That's a mistake. You should be worshiping every single one of us, because we all die for your sins every single day. And that's exactly what's going on here. Yeah. We're all God's firstborn, and we're dying for your sins right now because the Jewish people in the land of Israel are the bulwark against the orcs. Mm-hmm. Okay? The orcs are coming not to a theater near you, but to your home.
Christians and Jews, the best of friends.